Did you know starting in 2025, no one on Medicare Part D can spend more than $2,000 annually for their Part D prescription drugs? Hi, I'm Larry Goist, owner of LMS Insurance Group, where we help seniors navigate the Medicare maze. So in today's short video, I'm telling you about the new Part D drug rules that start in 2025 that will save over 1.5 million Medicare beneficiaries money. And I'm going to go over three real basic topics today. So first off, I'm going to tell you how Part D drug coverage works in 2024. Secondly, I'm going to tell you about the changes to the drug coverage that's going to happen next year. And then thirdly, I'm going to tell you exactly how many people this is going to help that are on Medicare. That's all coming up next. Hey, before I dive in, don't forget to subscribe. Definitely like our channel if you find this content helpful. I really do appreciate you doing that. Okay, so before I get into all this, I want to preface this with these changes are all, they're taking effect because of the Inflation Reduction Act. So the Inflation Reduction Act was a bill that was passed under the Biden administration in August of 2023. And there were 6 different major provisions in this bill that affected Medicare. And these provisions all took effect in different years. Some in 2023, some in 2024, some in 2025, some as late as 2026. But the big part of the Inflation Reduction Act that starts in 2025 is the hard cap on prescription drugs. Okay, so how does Part D drug coverage work in 2024? So in 2024, there are 4 stages of Part D that you go through. So the first stage is your deductible stage. And in 2024, the maximum deductible that any plan can charge was $545. So that means you would pay all of the costs associated with your drugs until you paid $545. Once you had met the deductible, then you move to the next stage, which is called your initial coverage level. Now, while you're under your initial coverage level, you're paying fixed co-pays or co-insurance for your prescriptions. So on every drug plan, they break the drugs up into different tiers. Usually there's either 5 or 6 tiers. So while you're in initial coverage, you have a price for each tier. Your drug plan might say a tier 1 is 0, a tier 2 is 5, a tier 3 is 40. So you would pay those fixed costs when you go pick up your drugs. You'd already met the deductible. Now you're in the initial coverage and you're paying the fixed cost that's associated with the tier of drug you're on. Now you stay in this initial coverage level until you in your plan had spent $5,030 on Part D drugs. So if you in your Part D plan had spent $5,030, you then move to what's called the coverage gap. And the coverage gap is also called the donut hole. Yes, the infamous donut hole. So in 2024, you hit the donut hole once you and the plan had spent $5,030. Now that you're in the donut hole, you, the Medicare beneficiary, have to pay 25% of the retail cost of the drug. So if you were on a high-price name brand, okay, say that prescription was $1,000 retail. Well, in the donut hole, you'd pay 25% of it. You would pay $250 to fill that prescription drug. And when you were in the initial coverage level, which was the stage prior, you might only been paying $40 or $45 for that drug. But now that you hit that threshold and were moved to the coverage gap, that same prescription, now you have to pay 25% of the cost of the drug. And you stay in this donut hole until your true out-of-pocket costs, so the what you've paid plus what the plan's paid plus the manufacturer discounts, once those things accumulated to $8,000, you would then go to the 4th stage, which is called catastrophic coverage. And in 2024, when you hit catastrophic coverage, all your prescriptions went to $0. But you would have had to spend an estimated $3,400 in 2024. Like the Medicare beneficiary would have had to come out of pocket almost $3,400 to go to catastrophic for then everything to be zero. So in 2024, in essence, we had a cap on drugs of around $3,400. Okay, so that's how Part D drug coverage works in 2024. You have deductible, initial, coverage gap, catastrophic. And this is all changing in 2025, and it's going to really help you Medicare beneficiaries. Okay, so how does Part D work in 2025? Well, the biggest thing to note is they eliminated the donut hole. So there are no more 4 stages of drug coverage. There are now only 3. Okay, so let's go through these. So the first stage of drug coverage next year, 2025, is your deductible stage. Now, the maximum Part D deductible in 2025 is $590. So if your plan chooses to charge a deductible, they can charge up to $590. So you pay the first $590 of the year, then you move to the second stage, which is your initial coverage level. So the way the initial coverage level is being described, as I understand things right now in July of 2024, is that you are going to be responsible for up to 25% of the cost of the drug. So when you're in initial coverage, you're going to pay 25%, and then between your plan and the discounts that you get, they're going to pay the other 75%. But I totally expect companies to offer you prescriptions for less than 25% of the cost. Okay, that's the maximum they can charge you. So I'm sure there's still going to be generics that are offered for $0 and all kinds of drugs. Just know while you're in the initial coverage level, you could pay up to 25% of the retail cost of the drug. Now, you will stay in this initial coverage level until your out-of-pocket costs for Part D drugs hit $2,000. So if you have had to come out of pocket $2,000 for Part D drugs, you then move to catastrophic. And when you're in catastrophic, all prescriptions are $0 copay the rest of the year. So there is now a hard cap on prescription costs at $2,000. Because once you've paid $2,000 in prescription costs, you are in catastrophic coverage. All prescriptions go to $0 for the rest of the calendar year. So again, in 2024, you went from deductible to initial to coverage gap to then catastrophic. And we put that up in 2025. Now you're going to go from deductible to initial, then right to catastrophic coverage. So how many people is this actually going to help? Like, how many people are really spending more than $2,000 a year on prescriptions? Well, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, the most recent data that is available is 2021. And in 2021, over 1.5 million people on Medicare spent over $2,000 for prescription drugs. Okay, so of that group, that 1.5 million, that group of people, okay, 68% of that group spent between $2,000 to $3,000 in 2021. Then you had 20% of people in that group spent between $3,000 to $5,000, and then 12% of that group spent over $5,000 for prescription costs in 2021. So in California, Florida, and Texas alone, over 100,000 people on Medicare spent over $2,000 on prescriptions in 2021. And if you look at 6 other states, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Illinois, North Carolina, and New Jersey, they had between 50,000 to 80,000 people that spent over $2,000 on prescription drugs. So, if you're not on prescriptions, I'm sure it could be hard to imagine that people are actually paying that much on Medicare for prescription drugs. But this has been going on for decades since we've had the donut hole. And the last 10 years, the donut hole has gotten smaller and smaller, but finally in 2025, it is eliminated completely, and you don't have to have the stress or the burden of having to worry about paying more than that $2,000 benchmark for prescription drugs on Part D. So guys, the way things are changing and new laws are being implemented and new rules every year, how do you know what to do? Well, that's what we're here for at LMS Insurance Group. So if you need any help, whether it's with Medicare, the Affordable Care Act, employer insurance, whatever it may be, we are a full-service, multi-state brokerage that specializes in the senior market. So if you have any questions on the Inflation Reduction Act, on how Part D works, or you just need a plan comparison, certainly use the information in the link below, as me or someone in my office would love to help. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. We'll talk to you next time. Larry Goist, LMS Insurance Group. Thanks.